It's time to step inside the Octagon with your host, Ike Feldman.
What's up, fight fans? What's up, combat sports community? It's your boy, Isaac Ike Feldman. Hope you guys are doing well. A little impromptu live broadcast on this Thursday, August 28th, 2025. Holy moly, what a time to be alive. What a time to be a combat sports fan. We all know the UFC has dropped the pay-per-view model starting in 2026. We are obviously hot off the heels of an amazing UFC pay-per-view. UFC 319 in Chicago. Khamzat Chimaev dominating Dricus du Plessis. He is not a Khabib Nurmagomedov. Could be possibly an Islam Makhachev. We will see. And then after that, we have the local kid, the Funk Master himself, the Sulian Stretcher himself, Aljamain Sterling, dominating Brian Ortega, a two-time featherweight title challenger, and now sliding into the top 5 of the UFC's 145-pound division. Aljamain Sterling continues to evolve, improve. His boxing looked incredible last weekend. Guys, if you want to talk about anything UFC 319 or anything UFC Shanghai from the past 2 weekends, join the show. It's the link below in the YouTube page. I will throw it underneath the Twitter page right about now. If you'd like to join the show, hit that link in the reply on Twitter. I would love to hear your opinions, your thoughts, anything. You guys want to keep it X-rated, you want to keep it G-rated. I welcome any and all newcomers to the Octagon podcast show. But I had to go live because we just got some breaking news. Islam Makhachev and Jack Della Maddalena will headline UFC 322 Madison Square Garden, backyard to Long Island, New York, Strong Island, New York. Very excited. I believe it's it's one of those super fights. We had Topuria moving up. Now we have Islam moving up. Super duper fight. Very excited for this. The co-main event, Valentina Shevchenko versus Weili Zhang, which is also a super fight. You have Valentina, who has just dominated the flyweight division since 2018, I believe, is when it first opened. I remember I was in an apartment watching the fights with my cockroach roommates in Brooklyn, New York. So I remember exactly when Valentina made her flyweight debut. Beat down a young lady. What was her name? Priscilla Cochera or something. It was like some of the most record strike numbers we've seen. I know that's been thrown around with the Khamzat fight, like the dominating the numbers and stop. Can we stop with the pity patty fights? If there was any real trouble, the referee would have stopped the crucifix position. We obviously saw what happened with Roy Nelson and Kimbo Slice, or UFC 220 with Daniel Cormier and Volkan Ozdemir. Real true crucifix dominating positions. So let's pump the brakes a little with Khamzat's numbers. I still give Max Holloway over Calvin Kattar the significant strike advantage with the records. But back to the breaking news. Shevchenko and Zhang will be the co-main event inside the world's most famous arena this November in Madison Square Garden. Very pumped for that. And before it, hot off his UFC 319 spinning back elbow knockout of Jeff Neal. Unbelievable performance from Charlie Siggs. Yes, Carlos Prates is now taking on a former champion, a welterweight great, one of the greatest 170-pound fighters the UFC has ever seen, the UK's own Leon Rocky Edwards. This will obviously be a high level technical striking. You can say that Edwards is a slick kickboxer, somebody with maybe a karate switch kicks, very clean boxing, pure striking, pure as day. And we will see where his head is at. We obviously know him and his coach, Dave Lavelle, have a very back and forth relationship. At one moment, they're screaming at each other, get it together, son, don't let him bully you. Boom, knockout of the year against Kamaru Usman. And then in the other side, he's cursing out his coach, saying, shut the F up, get out of my face. We will see which Leon Edwards shows up. Is he going to take that Israel Adesanya trajectory where this is his Imavov fight, the Nasruddin Imavov fight, where it's just the fall from being a champion continues and it's a step down after a step down, and then sooner or later he's facing fighters out of the top 10? Or does Leon Edwards pull a Alexander Volkanovski, wants to rewrite history and will not be defined from recent losses and can get back into the winning circle and become a champion once again? We will see. If Edwards can shut down the super confident, super slick, somebody the UFC wants to prompt up, I would say Prates, out of all the Fighting Nerds team, even Kai Bahayo and John Silva, I think Carlos Prates connects most with fans. I guess we could do the actual litmus test, which is look up how many followers each of the Fighting Nerds fighters have to see which one is a true fan favorite. But in my mind, it's Charlie Siggs. I think the whole smoking on fight day, drinking with John Jones after the fight persona really connects with the fans. He is honest. He says he rather smoke cigarettes than eat a slice of pizza. Like, we love that authenticity when it comes to these athletes. So that's a very exciting fight. 3 rounds is not enough. I wonder if that's going to be a 5-rounder. Because, man, I don't see anybody pulling the trigger in the first round, possibly the first 7 minutes of that fight. I think it's going to be a super calculated chess match. Obviously, MSG brings the heat, brings people to a higher level. I wonder if Edwards will step out of his comfort zone and want to mix things up and take a chance with Prates. But in my mind, it's going to be Prates who's going to be pressing the action, and Edwards who's going to be looking to counter strike and playing Pepper as he is dealing with some confidence issues. No freaking doubt about it. But first and foremost, and before we really get into these fights, Dana White says he has a deal done with the White House. He was just in Washington, D.C. I have the video. We'll play it. Yeah. He says the deal is done and more details to come about the fight on the White House. Everybody has seen it. Everybody's heard about the fight on the White House. People want to know if it's I don't know, like if it's a real thing, if it's really going to happen. And yeah, guys, if you have the president saying it's going to happen, if you have Dana White saying it's going to happen, yeah, and then he's flying from DC. This is not a Jake Paul, Logan Paul, or KSI, or Speed, or who else is there? Neon. Any of these friggin' influencers are looking for clicks. Dana White is an actual long in the tooth businessman and a long in the tooth combat sports businessman. So this fight is really happening. This is no hoax to he could have like stopped the momentum of this White House card as soon as he got the $7.7 billion billion-dollar deal with CBS TV and Paramount Plus. He could have like said, "Oh, yeah, maybe we'll do 2027 or 28 with the White House card." No, he's doubled down. He's got nothing to do. It's a freaking holiday weekend, and the dude is in DC getting deals done. You got to respect it. And he's got plenty of gas in the tank. So he continues to elevate combat sports and push it to the next level. Very excited to see how this White House card will look like. But let's focus on one of the last few pay-per-views in the UFC pay-per-view card. Let me type the next banner. UFC at the Dana White House. That's a good one. That's a good one. At the Dana White House. Yeah, you guys heard that first here. So it's a one-man show in case you didn't know. I got these banners ready for the next topic. Okay. Jack Della Maddalena, excuse me, Mr. Maddalena. JDM, better known. Australians. Nick Diaz puts the hands up. It's got the slap boxing with a lot more thudding to it. And is also a great athlete. You've seen the scrambles against Bilal Muhammad. You've seen the intensity. You've seen the will to win, and he got it done. He stepped in over Shavkat, and you hope Shavkat is resting up. It's got to kill him to see that the 170 division is moving fastly forward without him. And you hope that he gets another fight in, I don't know, maybe December. He hasn't fought since last December. Maybe he gets a fight in this December. Heck, I would even like to see the him versus Ian Machado Gary rematch. I don't think either men want to face Sean Brady. Sean Brady is the dark horse of the UFC's welterweight division. No doubt about it. Dangerous, strong grappling, who is just dominating the field. Even though he lost to the former champion Bilal Muhammad, he lost to a former champion in Bilal Muhammad in Abu Dhabi. Sean Brady, nobody wants to fight him. I would even guarantee you that Islam Makhachev would rather face JDM than Sean Brady. Yeah. JDM has much better striking than Sean Brady, of course. But Sean Brady might be the neutralizer to Islam Makhachev's Supreme Sambo submissions. I'm very excited for this fight. For anybody that's really paying attention to the breakdowns of this fight, the technical side of this fight, I'm going to start to ramp down the excitement I have in my voice to really look at this from a technical perspective. We knew big fights were coming to MSG. The breaking news part is fun. Said it. You heard it. Glad you guys did. JDM is a slick, clean boxer. Doesn't have the most technical kicks. He is really looking to put together boxing combinations with his hands to apply pressure, to, if he does counter, if he does take one step back, it's to take 4 steps forward. The man has a great gas tank. That's why the Nick Diaz comparison with JDM, I think, is spot on. JDM is basically a 2.0 version of Nick Diaz. And no disrespect to the Diaz brothers. Shout outs to Nate, who actually just visited the Matt Serra BJJ Academy in Huntington, New York. Shout outs to Nate Diaz and the NDA, the Nick Diaz Army. Massive amount of respect for the Diaz family and the Gracie family, of course. But who was the man that dominated Nick Diaz in Nick Diaz's heyday? Maybe this was 2010, 2012. Who was the man that put Nick Diaz on his back over and over and over and over? Who was the man that was not scared, homie, who didn't care for the theatrics that surrounds a Nick Diaz event or fight, who was not worried about the boxing, who was legitimately going to stick to the game plan, who is the best we've seen at mixing the arts, arguably? George St. Pierre. Yeah. Right now, you guys are like, you're comparing Islam Makhachev to GSP? Are you kidding me? No, I am not kidding you. I'm dead serious. Seeing Islam Makhachev in person, his last fight against Dustin Poirier, everybody assumed that we were going to see a Khamzat Chimaev type of fight out of Islam Makhachev, where he attempted 20 takedowns and took down Dustin Poirier 14 times and looked for a submission, but played it safe, didn't want to engage in the striking. No. A truly dominating performance was Islam Makhachev at UFC 302 in New Jersey. I believe it's K Dojo is one of the gyms that scoops up the Georgian, the Dagestani fighters when they come to the US. I believe Magomed, oh my God, Zabit Magomed Sharapov was there as well. Khabib, when he came to America, that's where he started. So the Nurmagomedovs and the Makhachevs are very comfortable fighting in New Jersey, and it showed at UFC 302. Dustin Poirier did not land the most strikes in that fight. Islam Makhachev outstruck Dustin Poirier, the Diamond, the man with some of the most spectacular boxing we've ever seen in the UFC. Islam Makhachev was the more damaging fighter in that fight. And when he felt that Dustin was taking a little more chances on the feet and was stepping out of his game plan to try to land something, to get something back against Islam, when that dog comes out of Dustin Poirier DP, what did Islam Makhachev do? Took the fight to the floor. If GSP is facing a Josh Koscheck, a much more credentialed wrestler than him, did he try to out-grapple it? No. He jabbed the shit out of Koscheck's face and got the win. Did he feel that Nick Diaz was going to come and try to slap him, mark his territory, let him know what time it is? Yeah, probably. But what did he do to Nick Diaz? He took the steam, the wind out of his sails, put him on his ass, put him on his back, dominated with elbows. Perfectly timed wrestling. And it's not like Nick Diaz is throwing roundhouse kicks that GSP's capitalizing on and Nick Diaz is exposing himself. No, Nick Diaz, like JDM, is a hardcore, true to his roots, mostly hands MMA boxer. So do you see the comparisons? The Nick Diaz 2.0, the GSP 2.0. I don't think enough people are giving Islam Makhachev credit. How many times have you heard Joe Rogan just speak about how big Islam Makhachev is? And he is. He's probably 6 feet, almost 6'1", tall dude, very strong. I think he could have stepped up to 170 on short notice and beat JDM. Yeah, that's how strong. That's how technical. That's how much fight IQ I believe Islam Makhachev has. So with what was it, June 2024 to November 2025, you're talking like a John Jones type of timeline to gain the weight. And he didn't have to gain 50 pounds of muscles like John Jones attempted to go from light heavyweight to heavyweight. He had to gain 15 pounds. So to have, what is that? 17, about a year and a half, 18 months to gain 15 pounds, be much stronger. It might be hard for Islam to go back to lightweight. That's how big he might have got. But I don't doubt that if he wanted to go to lightweight to face Ilya Taporia or whoever's next in line, Paddy Pimblett, Arman Tsarukyan at 155, he could do it because he is smart, he is calculated, and again, he has the secret formula. Not a Greg Jackson or a John Danaher. A Khabib Nurmagomedov is in his corner. Javier Mendez doesn't get enough love as well. So, cat's out of the bag. I'm picking Islam Makhachev to win. I don't think it's going to be by submission. I don't think it's going to be by knockout. I think this is going to be the most grueling fight of Islam Makhachev's career. That's how much respect I have for JDM. Somebody who's peaking. Now, he came into the UFC looking like damaged goods, like a car you see on a used lot, and you're like, what's the Carfax on that car? I want to know what happened to that car. Yeah, JDM came in with like a hubcap rolling off his rim into the UFC. I don't know what happened. He has a big brother, a very athletic dude. I saw it in the last countdown of his last fight. What was it, back in April? Maybe his brother beat him up. But since he came to the UFC, he's been pretty much unscathed. And he's been the hammer in every single fight. You can't name a spot around a minute where JDM looked like he was being the nail, being dominated. So you're also going to get the peak of his career. Two guys peaking. And I think it's going to be an ultimate clash. The Garden has not had an amazing decision fight in the main event. Let's see. We got Conor at 305. 205 against Eddie Alvarez. You had the George St. Pierre, Michael Bisping. I think that was a third round stoppage. Daniel Cormier, Derek Lewis, 230. UFC 230. Not how much they weighed. None of those boys weighed 230. That was a submission by Daniel Cormier. Then you had 244. The controversial doctor stoppage, the BMF inaugural belt with Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz. Then you had, when did they return back to? Yeah. So the last time we had a decision was Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman, UFC 268. And that wasn't that entertaining of a fight. Usman improved from their first fight and dominated much more. You had Izzy Pereira after that, 281. That ended in the 5th round at the stoppage. And then you had 295. That was Pereira versus Yuri Prohaska, another stoppage. I mean, and then 309, John Jones, Stipe Miocic. So the only decision main event in MSG, I'm telling you, there's something in that building that brings just not chaos, that brings some type of fighting spirit out of these athletes. Way back to the Joe Louis days, Max Schmeling. Go look that up. And then, of course, the Muhammad Ali, the Joe Frazier's. I don't think Floyd has a legacy at MSG. I think Floyd Mayweather liked his money, and stayed in Vegas most of it. I believe it was like 26 times he fought in Vegas. I think the closest he got to fight at MSG was the Boardwalk and in Atlantic City. Yet that boy likes his taxes. I don't blame him. Smart businessman. I can't wait to see him. I don't know who's he gonna fight. He'll probably fight. I don't know, Demetrius Johnson next in a boxing match or something, or Gotti for smart man. But my point is MSG. I think this will be the first decision since UFC 268, and I think it will be a much more entertaining decision. Does JDM land something significant? Knock down Islam Makhachev. Make it scary for a second. I can't say yes. I lean more towards Islam Makhachev. Staying out of the firefight. And I think JDM, Jack Della, will land jabs and can do what Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira do. They do not have great wrestling defense at all. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious. Yuri Prohaska took down Alex Pereira. We saw Israel Adesanya get exposed against DDP. Been in the UFC for a minute. You can get by with great striking. What does that mean? If you can keep somebody at range, jab them, teep them, circle out, believe it or not, that is kind of sort of a takedown defense or an anti-wrestling strategy, because you're using your offense as a defense. If you say have who's a wrestler for Izzy, a Hamza Chimaev, and you have a 2020 Israel Adesanya, the Israel Adesanya that faced Paulo Costa, and say Hamza Chimaev is charging for a takedown, Izzy lands one of those question mark kicks or a teep up the middle, keeps Hamza at bay. We never have to see the average wrestling of Israel Adesanya. So my point is, Jack Della Maddalena he doesn't have the black belt jiu-jitsu, but he does have better anti-wrestling and wrestling than Israel Adesanya. I'll say that, okay? Though I'm calling him the Nick Diaz 2.0, I don't think he's submitting anybody anytime soon. And it's not like Nick Diaz submitted anybody that often. I'm trying to think. Nick Diaz in the UFC, I'm not sure if he even has a submission in his resume. If I look back at the Wikipedia, it was mainly butterfly guard, feet on the hips, get back, do the damage with the punches. And I think JDM lives in that style because of his heavy boxing and athleticism in the scrambles, which will favor him against Makhachev. I think it's going to be a little difficult for Makhachev to get Jack Della Maddalena down. I think the first round's a complete kickboxing match. I think that's a strategy by the Makhachev team to go into this fight believing that the first round is going to be a completely stand-up. The second round, get his hopes up. Or at the end of the first, one of those steal the round takedowns. But in the second, no doubt about it, if Islam Makhachev did not shoot in the first round, he will shoot and take down JDM in the second round with the well-timed takedown and lull Maddalena to sleep. Fake the jab. And that only works if he lands the jab. If he lands the cross, the takedown becomes that much more effective if Islam Makhachev can land something on the feet. So, very excited for that fight. MSG got its main event. Let's go. Let's go. Islam deserves the rub too. Very happy to see Islam get back to big time fights. I don't think he took advantage of the New York circuit when he fought in New Jersey last year against Dustin Poirier. I feel like that was more of people getting excited for Poirier. Islam established his pound for pound ranking at that time. And I hope, and I pray that he gets the proper respect going into this fight. Two fighters who are going into this as complete legends, and they deserve all the praise they're going to get for this fight. I hope they get their flowers. It's nearing the end for one of these women. The loser will have to climb back, but I'm very excited for Valentina Shevchenko versus Weili Zhang. Let's see. Zhang has got some woes in MSG. The last time she fought in MSG was when she lost a decision to Rose Namajunas. That same card I mentioned with Kamaru Usman facing Colby, the rematch, UFC 268. Weili Zhang got dominated by Rose Namajunas. If you guys remember the head kick, I think that was back at 261. UFC 261. That was the first card with fight fans in attendance in Jacksonville, Florida. So that knockout was just even crazier. I'm sure the building was just blowing up with excitement. And then you fast forward a couple of cards, a couple of months later, Zhang and Namajunas, they did the rematch. And this time, Rose was maybe didn't have the killer instinct that night, but was extremely cerebral and supremely sharp and stuck to her game plan and dominated Zhang and showed that she has a lot of work to do in the grappling department. And I think Zhang, after that loss to Rose Namajunas back in 2021, I think that's when she joined the Cejudo camp and started to really ramp up her wrestling. And then you see her choking out Yan Xiaonan at UFC 300 to end the round. So Zhang completely took her grappling to the next level. And let's see if Shevchenko has taken her grappling to the next level. We saw her get choked out against Alexa Grasso, come back, win at UFC Noche, but now she is facing a strong, I know Weili Zhang is a strawweight moving up to flyweight, and Shevchenko is the longtime flyweight who also fought at bantamweight. But Shevchenko, I think she was weighing like 135, 137 pounds when she was fighting at bantamweight against Amanda Nunes. And now it's like a 10 to 12, maybe 14-pound cut to flyweight. Weili Zhang, in my opinion, probably walks around as a bigger human being than Valentina Shevchenko and then has to cut down way more weight to get down to strawweight. So Weili Zhang, who is just an absolute physical specimen, I think there's going to be no lack in her strength, her speed. You would say her speed carries perfectly, but I think her strength will be noticeably improved. And it's not like Shevchenko is an overpowering grappler. You know, she likes to be speed with the spinning back kicks, the spinning back fist, the jab, the cross, and then out. Like she likes to just be in and out, circle, very speedy attacks. Nothing's like lumbering leg kicks or overhand rights or overhand lefts in her case, or big double leg takedowns or strong side control. Shevchenko is more speed based. I would say Zhang probably is more powerful going into this fight, no doubt about it. Who gets the job done? Whose legacy is stamped forever and doing it at MSG? Wow. Who can do it? Man, I'm giving you guys my pick this early. And I thought about the Islam and the JDM fight for several months, maybe even longer than that. Um, probably since JDM beat Bilal Muhammad. I've been thinking about this, and probably before that because it was teased if Bilal won, Islam Makhachev was going to stay at lightweight. So probably since April or whenever that the fight was between Bilal and JDM, or May, I believe that was. I've been thinking about that fight. In terms of the Shevchenko Zhang, I know this was teased for a good while, one of these super fights, but never really thought about this fight because Shevchenko was still in the midst of her rivalry with Alexa Grasso. And I thought that Alexa Grasso was going to be the next big thing. And she still very well can be in that flyweight division. And if Shevchenko wants to retire or continue facing Alexa Grasso for 4 more times, she can do whatever she wants. But I was not ready for the Zhang Shevchenko fight. But now that it's here, now that we've seen Zhang since that Rose Namajunas loss in 2021 in the building that she's going to be fighting, is it going to be a house of horrors for her? Is she going to be down 0-2 in MSG, or does she completely bounce back and look terrific against Shevchenko? Man, it'd be kind of be crazy to pick 2 fighters that are the smaller fighters, quote unquote, coming up from the smaller weight class. 5 rounds is a lot of time to work. Man, this is a tough fight. I really like Shevchenko. And she's oof. It's a tough fight. It's a tough fight. Weili Zhang. Oh, I probably sound like Rick Ross right now. Oh, man. I need more time. I need more time. Guys, comment. Let me know if you who do you think wins this fight? Seriously. I am freaking lost for words. Wow. Yeah, yeah. It's a big fight. And I think I just got you guys on the Instagram. If you guys missed it, I was going over the Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev fight. Breaking news: the UFC at MSG has returned. Big time fights. JDM, Islam Makhachev. I did a whole breakdown. If you guys want to go back on the YouTube page, click the live tab. I think I did like a 30-minute talking about this fight. To sum it up, I believe that this is Nick Diaz 2.0 versus GSP 2.0. I think Jack Della Maddalena uses his grappling, his athleticism to get the fight to his wheelhouse, which is slick, clean boxing, powerful boxing. I think JDM is a gamer. I think he is peaking. I think this is the best JDM you're going to see. I don't think that win over Bilal Muhammad was a fluke. And on the other side, Islam Makhachev, I think you're going to see the best Islam Makhachev. It's been 18 months since we've seen Islam. Back at UFC 302 in New Jersey against Dustin Poirier. And why I called Islam GSP was, I don't know, I can't even think of a funny reason. But it's simply because of how well he mixes the arts. You know, going into that fight, I thought I was going to see Islam Makhachev do what we saw Hamzat Chimaev do a couple of weeks ago. 17 takedown attempts, 17 takedowns, and just hold the fight, keep the fight where he is. But no, he's the one who had the better striking numbers than Dustin Poirier. And when Dustin Poirier was stepping out of the game plan to get one back, I mean, we saw Dustin Poirier was the one spitting blood against Islam Makhachev. No, not because he got double-legged and slammed on his nose and blood started leaking down DP's face. It's because Islam Makhachev was jabbing the crap out of his face and crossing the crap out of his face and landing more strikes on the feet. And then when he felt that Dustin Poirier was going to try to step out of his game plan to do something a little dangerous to try to get one back, Islam Makhachev felt that in the fight and took him down when he wanted to. To me, that was a GSP-like performance. And I think we're going to see a similar result as we've seen. Could be a little more action on JDM side than what we saw from Nick Diaz versus GSP. You know, I think Nick Diaz was a little in his own head going into that fight. It was the biggest fight of his career, biggest opportunity. And he showed an all respect to the Diaz brothers, of course. Shout outs to Nate Diaz coming down to the Sarah BJJ Academy last week, showing love to the Long Island grappling scene. Nate, we love you, brother. Thank you for coming through. Hope you enjoyed your Taglio's pizza more than anything, more than any cool Kimura or Peruvian necktie or arm and guillotine that Nate Diaz could show in the seminar. I hope he enjoyed his bromate free, his bleach free pizza from Taglio's. No doubt about it. I hope Nate Diaz enjoyed that during his visit to Sarah BJJ in Long Island, New York. But what I was saying about that fight, and what was it? UFC 165, maybe? I don't remember. No, UFC 139? I don't remember. Whenever Nick Diaz versus George St. Pierre, if you guys could remember that off the top of your head, I'll freaking send you a shirt in the mail or something. But GSP dominated Nick Diaz. He did not care for the trash talk, the presence, the aura that is Nick Diaz. Nick Diaz does not aura farm. That man was born with aura, something you can't teach. Cool as they come is Nick Diaz. And GSP did not buy into that. He fought the silhouette of Nick Diaz. He didn't fight the name that was Nick Diaz. And he took him down, neutralized him, ground and pound from the bottom. But the difference is GSP was not coming up in weight. So I think that will be the biggest difference here, that Jack Della, a natural welterweight, dude looks like he's carved from stone. Maybe on the sculpting, they screwed up the nose. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But JDM, super athletic. I think a lot of people will not give him credit. They will say he's a fighter's fighter. He's a scrapper. No, the dude is a technician when it comes to the boxing. Beautiful boxing. Does not telegraph his punches. From point A to point B is crisp. There's no, what would they say, like there's no wasted energy, no wasted motion in his strikes. And like Nick Diaz, doesn't have incredible kick arsenal, doesn't look for takedowns, but will scramble to get the fight to where he's comfortable, which is in boxing range. My point, Islam Makhachev could big brother Bilal Muhammad. Islam Makhachev could big brother probably everybody that JDM's fought. I think JDM is geared up to put on the best performance of his career, and Islam Makhachev is going to neutralize that. How well does he neutralize it? Does he get tagged along the way? I don't. That might be that something special that comes out of the MSG card. But I'm leaning towards Makhachev heavily, at least 60-40, to get the job done via decision. Big believer in Makhachev, especially with the time off to rest, recover, and properly gain the weight. I think that's the only difference from Diaz GSP in this, is that GSP did not have to go up a weight class. And as we saw, GSP likes to take his time when going up in weight class. Took him a long time to come back to the UFC, about 4 years. And in that time, he moved up to 185. He jumped at a fighter that he saw was ripe for the picking, which was Michael Bisping. So I like Islam Makhachev. I think Khabib is always the secret weapon to give him the right advice and to guide him along the way. No doubt about it. And if you guys missed, I was talking about the Shevchenko Weili Zhang fight. I love it. I think Zhang is going to have more power, even though she's moving up in weight. Shevchenko likes to go for speed, likes to be in and out like a cobra. I like Weili Zhang to does she want to make it a scrappy fight, a dirty fight, throwing a takedown, throwing a clinch? I can't pick it yet. I'm sorry, guys. I cannot pick it yet. But for you guys, let's talk about the fun fight. Leon Edwards, Carlos Prates, Charlie Siggs. This might be one of those MSG cards that gets all 3 decisions. I if this is 3 rounds, it's not enough. It's not enough time for the guys to work. And Prates would have to step out of his style to try to get something done within 3 against somebody like Edwards. I know that he knocked out Jeff Neal inside of 3 rounds, but no offense, Jeff Neal is not Leon Edwards. Jeff Neal is not a former UFC champion. Leon Edwards, I mean, has he wow, this is crazy. Has he ever been knocked out? Am I going to feel like an idiot when I look up and see that he was knocked out? Has he ever been knocked out in his pro career? Let's see. Losses. Oh my gosh. Leon Edwards has never been knocked out. This fight is going to decision. Wow. Now, who wins that decision? Oof. I would not be surprised if Edwards wins. I would not be surprised. It's a coin flip for me. Prates has the momentum. Edwards is hurting off the 2 losses to Bilal Muhammad getting mauled, to Sean Brady getting mauled, but 2 guys who went in with heavy grappling game plans. This is a fight that Edwards can get comfortable with. Even against Kamaru Usman, he still had to worry about a takedown in the back of his head, somewhat. Same thing with Colby, but Edwards versus Prates, I think he could get some shots off. The question is, does he become Alexander Volkanovski or does he go the other route, Israel Adesanya? Does he take a step up after these losses or does he take a step down? That's a 50-50. That's a 50-50 fight. This line has to be oof. Let me see if I could get let me see if I could get a line on this. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Leon Edwards. Leon. They have Leon versus Hamzat, but they don't have Leon versus Prates. I guess this happened very fast, you know. Prates started that momentum in Chicago. Mentioned this fight, and it got made 2 weeks later. They got, well, at least they got the line with Islam Makhachev and Jack Della Maddalena. Islam Makhachev is a minus 385 favorite. So, yeah, people see him getting the win. I would put Makhachev getting the win. If you're going to parlay, Makhachev getting the win via decision. I think you're going to get the best performance of Jack Della Madalena's career. And people are going to say the best performance of his career is going to be a decision loss. It's not a knockout like we've seen. It's not the victory over Bilal Muhammad. No. The fact that he's going to go decision with Islam Makhachev, one of the all-time greats, when you look back, people will appreciate it. So take the fight via decision. That I'm very comfortable saying that. Zhang and Shevchenko, tough fight to pick. Leon Edwards, Carlos Prates, tough fight to pick. I don't know. Maybe by September, maybe by October, I'll figure out how I'm feeling with that. I mean, I do like Edwards right now, and I do like Shevchenko right now. Shevchenko versus like a very slim margin, and Leon Edwards, a very calculated striking match. No doubt about it. So, yeah, that's the fight announcements today, the breaking news. The other piece of news that I want to share with you guys. Where is it? So Dana White was on a plane. Oof. Don't have coleslaw and then have ice cream. Dangerous combination. Dangerous. So Dana White was on an airplane. And instead of me just spoiling it, let the man say it.
I had a great day. Just about to take off here from Washington, D.C. We had the meeting at the White House. Could not have gone better. This is going to be awesome. All right, let's start off. First off, I'm announcing our return to New York City as UFC 322 takes place on Saturday, November 15th. The main event, UFC welterweight champion Jack Della Maddalena defends his belt for the first time when he takes on former UFC lightweight champion Islam Makhachev. Makhachev was number one ranked pound-for-pound fighter in the world in 23, 24, and 25. Cleaned out that division, and he has decided to take his 15-fight win streak and move up to attempt to become one of a few fighters in UFC history to win belts in two different divisions. Della Maddalena has won 18 fights in a row, just beat Bilal Muhammad for the welterweight title. This is literally the definition of a super fight. So that's the main event. Champion versus champion, Madison Square Garden. UFC strawweight champion Weili Zhang has accomplished all there is to accomplish at 115 pounds. So she's now going to vacate her title and move up and challenge Valentina Shevchenko for the flyweight championship in the co-main event of UFC 322. Number 1 pound for pound versus number 2 pound for pound. Talk about another super fight. Shevchenko's the best flyweight in UFC history and holds basically every record in the division, including most wins, most knockouts, most takedowns. And Weili is the first Chinese champion ever and one of the most dominant strawweight champions in UFC history. She's finished 19 of her 26 wins and now looks to become just the second woman to win a UFC belt in 2 different divisions by taking on Shevchenko. So UFC 322, 2 super fights, November 15th in New York City, Madison Square Garden. Also on the card of UFC 322, former champion Leon Edwards returns to take on everybody's favorite, number 9 ranked Carlos Pradas. Carlos is an absolute fucking beast. He's got 5 wins in the UFC and 5 knockouts. So UFC 322, do not miss this one, November 15th in Madison Square Garden. I also want to update you on 321 in Abu Dhabi on October 25th, which will be headlined by the undisputed UFC heavyweight championship between Tom Aspinall.
Yeah, that was another fight, but not as big as the ones that I'm talking. The point of that video was to show you guys at the very beginning Dana White flying from Washington, D.C., saying, quote unquote, the deal is done with the White House card July 4th, which is a Saturday, 2026, America's 250th birthday. Yeah, and the UFC is going to be front and freaking center. Unbelievable how far this sport has come from fights not streaming anywhere. You had to literally go to like your local movie rentals to find it on post-taped VHS to watch it way after the fight was put on, to scrapping by to Spike TV, to cracking through with Fox Sports, to Conor McGregor taking off and help bringing it to ESPN, to now on CBS. Unbelievable growth in the last 30 plus years from the UFC. And now the UFC is going to be at the White House. And you know who's going to be calling that fight? The man who does the greatest show on earth. No, the biggest show, Joe Rogan. I mean, it's unbelievable. The full circle for the UFC. I just want this fight to happen and everything to be smooth. Like the UFC Noche, if the fights are crap, besides one or 2 fights, who cares? It's a win. It's on CBS. It's at the White House. So win and a win and a win. I just hope the aliens don't show up, and it's like Bruce Buffer's like, and it gets like sucked into a mothership, and it's like, oh my god, we don't get to see that. That would be crazy if the aliens decided to come at the UFC event at the White House. But yeah, and Joe Rogan just rips his skin off. He's like, hi, me and Eddie Bravo, we fooled you all. America. That should be somebody's walkout though. America, fuck yeah. That would be epic. That would definitely be epic. But I'm very excited. Very, very excited. A lot of great things. This sport just continues to break down walls. And fun fact, guys, the MLB is on a $1.6 billion per year broadcast deal. The UFC with this new 7.7 total and 1.1 per year broadcast deal with CBS TV and Paramount Plus have now passed NASCAR, golf, and hockey. And at 1.1 per year, they're 0.5 behind Major League Baseball. So maybe by 2032, the UFC might be passing baseball in America. Wow. That would be crazy. And then it would just be the NBA and the NFL ahead of the UFC. So we will see. I think it's the greatest sport on the world, or exhibition of one human against another human to determine who is the better what? Better fighter? Yeah. I think it's one of the craziest things that any human could do. So shout outs to Dana White, shout outs to the UFC, shout outs to all the fighters that put on these amazing shows for us fans. The show keeps rolling. Next week, I believe the UFC is in France once again since 2021, 2020, 2022, something like that. Whenever the UFC debuted in France, they've just become bigger and better. BSD energy. You have Cyril Gane. And of course, the man who is co-headlining this event, Nasruddin Imavov, against Kai Bohayo, one of the fighting nerds. Did Kai Bohayo screw up by weighing in as an alternate behind Hamzat and DDP? We will see. Or does one of the fighting nerds come out, make his mark, and show that he could cut weight every week if he had to? I'm a big fan of Kai, and I think he will be a future champion. I think it's a little nuts to drain yourself down 20 or so pounds to get a paycheck, be a backup. I think there was never a doubt that Hamzat was going to make weight. No doubt about it. Right now, I'm leaning towards Imavov. But the UFC's middleweight division has been on fire. No doubt about that. You had the RDR fight and then the Anthony Hernandez fight. I got to get into all these announcements, all this juicy news, maybe on a different stream. I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. As always, your boy, Ike Feldman, is out. Follow me everywhere at Ike the Gun. See you guys soon. Have a great holiday weekend.